Hey everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a unhaul. So I've got quite a few books that I am looking to unhaul, so let's just dive right on in. So first up, I'm going to be unhauling a bunch of the Coffee House Mystery Series by Cleo Coyle. We have On What Grounds, Decaffeinated Corpse, Latte Trouble, Murder Most Frothy, French Pressed, and Through the Grinder. I read the first two books in this series, and in the second book, our main character is doing a round of speed dating along with her daughter, and she's essentially using that speed dating to interview the potential suitors for her daughter. And one of them mentions having a relationship with a guy, and she gets really snipey about it and basically says that because he was with a guy and is now looking for a girl, he should just choose a team. And I did not like the way that was handled. Reading that made me decide that it wasn't worth my time to continue on with the series, so I will be unhauling all the books in this series. Next, I will be unhauling all of the Hannah Swanson mysteries I have. Key Lime Pie Murder, Raspberry Danish Murder, Apple Turnover Murder, Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder, Devil's Food Cake Murder, Red Velvet Cupcake Murder, Cinnamon Roll Murder, and Strawberry Shortcake Murder, which I have no idea where I set that book, but I do own it, and I'm definitely going to unhaul it once I find it. So the reason I'm unhauling these is because I read Strawberry Shortcake Murder, which is the second book in this series, and there were some racially insensitive things in that book that were literally, I felt, just thrown in there to make a statement. It had no bearing on the plot whatsoever. I will link my recent reads below if you want more details about why I decided I was done with this series, but I read some reviews for some of the books going forward, and it didn't sound like that sentiment was changing much, and I believe, if memory serves, there was a lot of use of the R word, which I also didn't like. So again, this was another series I decided just wasn't worth my time and effort, and it frees up some shelf space. Next, I'm going to unhaul We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. I read We Hunt the Flame, and I didn't really enjoy it. I think I gave it 2 stars, or somewhere around there. I was really bored throughout most of it, and I didn't really like the characters that we were following. And while this is just a duology, this second book is a chunker, so I don't know that I want to continue on with it, even though that would finish out the duology for me. I think if I did continue it, I would listen to it on audiobook anyways, so there's no point in keeping these two on my shelves. Next, I'm going to unhaul The Astonishing Maybe by Shonta Grimes. I haven't read this book yet, but I actually own 2 copies of this book, so I don't need both of them, so I will be unhauling the second one. Next, I have Maribel and the Book of Fate by Tracy Barrett. This is a middle grade fantasy, and I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. It was an enjoyable story, but it's not one I can see myself rereading, so I figured I'd pass it along to somebody who may enjoy it more than I did. Next is What Goes Up by Wen Jane Barangay, and I had a lot of issues with this book. It is definitely not one I can see myself ever rereading or recommending, so I don't see any point in keeping it on my shelves. In the same vein, I have Extraordinary Birds by Sandy Stark McGinnis. I think I gave this book 1 star, or like 1.5 stars. This was another book that I had a lot of issues with, and definitely don't see myself rereading. Even though the cover is gorgeous, I'm not going to keep it on my shelves just for a pretty cover, so I will be unhauling this. Next, I've got Ghost at Work, Ghost Times 2, and Ghost on the Case by Carolyn G. Hart. These are 3 books in the Bailey Ruth Rayburn mystery series. I've read the entirety of this series, and while I've enjoyed it, they're not my favorite, and I can't picture myself rereading it, and if I did, I could always listen to audiobooks or get them out of the library, so I don't see any need to keep these books on my shelf. Next is one that's probably going to be a smidge controversial, but that's Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is the second book in the Scythe series. I've read both Scythe and Thunderhead. I thought they were both alright. I've already unhauled Scythe. I see no reason to keep Thunderhead when it's definitely not a series I can ever see myself rereading. Even though I know that it seems to be very, very popular on BookTube, I just don't have room on my shelves for books that I didn't really love or can't see myself rereading down the line. Next, I've got Karma Girl and Hot Mama by Jennifer Eastep. These are the first 2 books in the Big Time series. There are things I really like about this series and things I really don't. I think I gave both of these like 3.5 stars. They weren't my favorite, but I also didn't hate them. But this is another series I cannot see myself rereading, and if I did ever want to reread it, I would get it out of the library, so I will be unhauling these. Next, we've got Creep Over, Truth or Dare by PJ Knight. I think I'm the wrong target audience for this book. It's supposed to be like a creepy middle grade, and I didn't find it creepy, I didn't find it interesting, but I think somebody who is in the target audience might actually find this to be a bit spooky, so I'm hoping that by unhauling it, it will work its way into the hands of somebody who will love it. Next up, I've got Face Blind by Lance Havermel, and I was not a fan of this book. I don't remember what I rated it, but it was a lot more graphic than I thought it would be, and I'm still a bit traumatized by some of the stuff that happened in this book, so if I'd known it was going to happen before I read it, I never would have picked it up, as it's not my kind of book. But that doesn't mean that somebody else who is more into that kind of thing won't enjoy this book, so I'm going to unhaul it, and hopefully somebody who will enjoy it will get their hands on it. Next, I've got 2 books I DNF'd, and that's Flying by Carrie Jones and When the Light Left Us by Leah Thomas. I think these are both sci-fi books, and I struggled with both of them. Neither of them caught me, and they are definitely full stop DNFs. They're not temporary DNFs. I am not going to pick either of these up again. Just neither one of them caught me and interested me, so I'm getting them off my shelf. Next, we have The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This one was a huge disappointment for me. I just really wanted more out of this book, and I didn't get it. I think I rated it like 2.75 stars. I think I would have liked this book more if it had been longer and had been able to delve more into the story and kind of flesh things out more, but a lot of it felt rushed, and I think there was a twist in here that I didn't like that completely overtook the book and just kind of ruined my enjoyment of it. So since I definitely won't be picking it up again, I'm unhauling it. Then I've got In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I liked this book. It was fine. So this is like a Groundhog's Day centered around a Christmas holiday, and while I really love the family vibes in this book, I was not at all there for the romance, and the Groundhog Day didn't repeat as often as I thought it was going to, so while I enjoyed reading it, once was enough for me, so I will be unhauling it, and since I know Christina Lauren is a very popular author, I'm sure somebody will be looking forward to getting their hands on this one. Next up is Reverie by Ryan LaSala. This is another one I think has such a gorgeous cover, and I'm sad that I can't keep it just for the cover alone. But I spent most of my time reading this book confused, and I did not get into it. Like, it didn't really hook me. Like I said, I was confused. I didn't really enjoy it, and despite the pretty cover, I cannot keep it on my shelves. Next is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This was another disappointment for me. I expected to like this book much more than I did. Unfortunately, I did not care about any of the characters, and if they had all died in the end, I would have been perfectly alright with that. So it's definitely not something I'm going to reread, because for me to keep a thriller, I have to have loved it. And this was 3 stars. Like, I didn't hate the book by any means, but I didn't love it either. And with thrillers, if I don't love them, they gotta go. Next is Liberty by Caitlin Greenidge. This is a historical fiction following a Black girl named Liberty who is living in Reconstruction era Brooklyn, and it basically follows her life, and there just wasn't enough plot for me. I thought there was going to be more of a plot, and it really is just the story of her growing up and her life, and since I didn't connect with Liberty as a character, I didn't really care. I think that there are definitely some people out there who will love this book, so by unhauling it, it will hopefully get into their hands. And lastly, I've got One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Now, this is probably my favorite of the books that I'm unhauling. I think I gave this like 4.25 stars, somewhere in there. But it's not a book I can ever see myself rereading, and I'm trying to be really strict about not hanging on to books that I could never see myself picking up again. So while I did enjoy it, I don't think I enjoyed it enough to ever reread it, and I know Casey McQuiston is a super popular author, so I'm sure there's somebody out there who wants this book and will love it more than I did and will want it on their shelves. So those are the books I am planning to unhaul. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them in the comment section below. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me bird emojis. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!